I'm going to give you the 3 things that are rocketing us towards an Orwellian police state where we lose Second Amendment, First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, you name it. I'm going to give you a tangible example of a man who was harassed by law enforcement, was actually arrested, went to jail, and was criminally charged not once, but twice. You're going to want to hear about this because it could be you and it could be me not too long from now. So guys, let's get into it. Guys, we are bobsledding down the slippery slope towards an Orwellian world. There are 3 things that I am seeing coming together, and we've documented the trends and the steps down this path along the way. But I want to highlight one story where all 3 of these things come together. When I say we, I don't just mean us here in my state of Wisconsin, and of course the United States, or even North America. I'm talking about the West writ large. Number 1, everyone's a victim. We used to have a sentiment of negative rights. That's a legal term, a philosophical term. What do I mean? I mean that in negative rights, I have a right to be free from other people encroaching on me, from the government telling me that they can take my gun, burn my Bible, they can take my free speech, they can search me unreasonably, all that stuff, right? Those are negative rights I have, to be free from those things. But in the victim culture that we increasingly live in, victims are empowered and encouraged to make positive claims on other people. Imagine if a politician ran for office saying, I think everybody under a certain income threshold should be given a brand new Mercedes. I don't know, I'm just making an example here, okay? Okay, well, that means that that company now has a duty to make cars for those people. Does the government buy them at some sort of big discount? I don't know. The taxpayers, of course, the government's not really government. Taxpayers are the government. People are the government. People are things, right? So that means that now people who are paying income taxes and other forms of taxes, real estate, whatever it is, all those people now have to kick in more. That's an example of a positive right because you're creating a duty on other people, okay? That's driven and really manifested, in my view, by this victim culture. And that changes us away from a society of negative rights, of liberty, into a society of positive rights and victimhood. I don't like that. And I see this coming together in this story. 2, zero tolerance policing and prosecution. It used to be that prosecutors and police had a lot more, not all the time, but oftentimes a lot more discretion and authority to make calls. And they weren't always zealous about going after little things really strong, really hard. But now increasingly so in my part of the country, in Wisconsin and elsewhere, you're seeing people run for office with zero tolerance against guns, zero tolerance against drugs, zero tolerance against whatever. And then when they get into office, they fashion these programs and they get the police on board with, you know what, if you get some kid with X, we're going to nail him to the cross. And setting aside that, yeah, absolutely, there are people who should be nailed to the cross at the end of the day for the evil that they commit. But when you start building the culture and you start developing the plumbing and the programming underneath of, look, yeah, no brainer. If X, Y, prosecute, nail them, you can start to see the culture that develops around taking every case individually. We're looking at the context, the individual, the specific facts of the offense, and then determining an outcome. And instead, we're just putting people to boxes, and those boxes determine the outcomes. That programming is ready to be weaponized. 3, and this is now the weaponization of 1 and 2. You then start to get vague laws written on the books that can be weaponized depending upon how they're practiced and put into place. I'm an ex-state prosecutor. I have seen very level-headed prosecutors, both as a defense attorney as well as a prosecutor, very level-headed prosecutors and cops make very rational, level-headed decisions about when it's time to swing the hammer and when you don't have to swing the hammer, and all the many thousands of shades of gray in between. Just because you've got a hammer doesn't mean that every problem's a nail. We've all heard that. But all that goes to the point that just because you can convict someone, just because you can go after someone, doesn't mean that you ought to. But because we have the plumbing from zero tolerance policing that compels, oftentimes, prosecutors on the basis of policy, law enforcement on the basis of policy of, I have to go after every single person that does this, then that truly comes back to weaponize when we have vague laws that are in place, vague laws that are open to interpretation, because then we get one body, the executive branch, really, at the end of the day. We're talking about law enforcement, who have a duty then to interpret a vague law, enforce that vague law, and even if they lose in court, someone's life and their finances and their reputation may have been absolutely turned upside down and inside out. You can see this on extreme risk protection orders. Now, let me be emphatically clear about red flag laws. Always unconstitutional. Period. Full stop. There's going to be a difference, however, in judges who virtually never apply them, unless you're talking about profoundly disturbed individuals, and there's a stack of medical evidence and all that kind of stuff, right? People who, if we still at institutions where these people would never see the light of day, that's where they are. Like the people who are cellmates with Hannibal Lecter. That's the type we're talking about, right? While still unconstitutional, I think we all recognize that there's a difference between the judges who only do it in cases like that versus judges who are going to pop it out like candy. And that gets back to the fact that laws as written on the books are only part of the battle. It's how they're enforced in court and on the street that is so profoundly important as well. And again, extreme risk protection orders, red flag laws, 100%, not 99%, 100% unconstitutional. I'm simply showing that there are completely different degrees on how a vague law can be enforced. That is all with that example. All right, so how does this all tie off? Here's a quick story for you. So this guy, John, who's this middle-aged IT consultant, owns his own shop. He goes out on vacation and he has a selfie of himself. I think he's holding a shotgun if memory serves. You can see it popping up right here on screen. He was in Florida at the time. Lawful gun, lawful place, nothing illegally happening here. But John had bad luck. You see, he decided to post this on social media, this seemingly very innocuous picture, and then went back to his normal life. Then came the knock at the door. Police arrived not to verify facts or gather information, but instead to warn John about how his lawful content might make others feel. When he offered geolocation advice to show, look, I wasn't pointing this at whoever this is his house. You see, John lives in a different country. He doesn't live in the United States. He lives in the UK, in England. He offered to show them geolocation to show that, yeah, I wasn't possessing an illegal gun, nothing. Nope, we're not interested. They didn't care about that. Days later, officers returned at night in the evening and arrested him. He spent a night in jail and woke to allegations of possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear, plus stalking tied to this separate business dispute. And I got to be clear, I don't know if he was or wasn't stalking or anything like that. I don't know anything about this underlying issue. That's not really the point here. Now, it is worth noting that, of course, if law enforcement truly did believe that he was both armed and dangerous, you'd expect a 3 a.m. armed raid, not a polite late evening pickup. Very cordial, which is my understanding what happened. So John was subsequently bailed out, and over the next 4 months, he is repeatedly visited by law enforcement who are not only interrogating him, but his neighbors. They took, as I understand it, his phone and his computers, crippling his work. Remember, he's an IT consultant and owns his own shop. Now, eventually the firearm and stalking allegations collapsed for lack of evidence. Prosecutors shifted instead now, after that didn't stick, to a public order charge based on other social media post history that was entirely unrelated to this and that he could barely remember. The prosecution's theory? Well, he had displayed a visible representation intended to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. A standard that is so subjective, it can turn unpopular speech, or in this case, vacation photos potentially, into a police matter. 1 week before court, that charge was dropped and dismissed too. Now, you may have heard about this case because even Elon Musk tweeted about it, but what struck me about it was how I'm seeing all these forces come together and merge into this hydra. This hydra, or this leviathan, that we're pushing against, of culture, politics, and law, all slowly being changed over the march of history, the drift of history. Notice how the cops in this story didn't care that he could prove his innocence. Didn't care. Because this wasn't really about the weapons. This wasn't really about his innocence. This was about what someone else thought and how they felt. Kind of reminds you of like gun control, right? Where it's not really about your gun. It's not really about all the statistics that we cite on this channel over and over and over again. The hundreds of thousands and even millions of lives saved year in, year out by firearms when people defensively use guns. Not really what this is about. For gun controllers, whether you want to say it's about control, their feelings, you name it, pick one, I don't care. But it's not about the evidence and it's not about the truth. And when you get vague laws combined with zero tolerance police, plus victim culture, that's not a place where we want to be, but I fear that is a place where we are going unless we stop it. I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. Let me know what you think about this. This is a little different. Down in the comment section below, I really look forward to reading and engaging with those as always. Be sure to hit like, and we're going to close with our ever popular quote of the day. This one comes from Benjamin Franklin, who said, quote, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." Truer words for these days. I appreciate seeing you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.